guys, this is the Gaming Revolution here and welcome back to an all new Black Ops 4 Zombies video. Now today we are going to be talking about how the brand new Black Ops 4 Zombies storyline with the IIII Zombies map, which is going to be taking place in around 200 BC within a Roman Colosseum, well, we are also going to be getting the Voyage of Despair Zombies map, and this is going to explore a new storyline which Jason Blundell has described as being distinct from the Aether storyline, which is indeed the storyline which is all to do with the Ultimus crew, the Primus crew, the Transit crew, etc, etc. This new storyline is going to be distinct from that. However, Jason Blundell did describe this new storyline as being a new chapter. Now, by it being a new chapter, it has to be related to the storyline of old, because otherwise it wouldn't be classified as being within the same book. You don't have a new chapter to a storyline that is completely unrelated to the past chapters. Now, this is why I think that these two storylines are going to connect at some point in time, and Treyarch have left various different clues throughout the two trailers that we did receive that I want to delve into. So if you do enjoy this video, a like and a subscription would be very much appreciated, but that's all out of the way, let's get straight on into it. So from the YouTubers who have actually gone out to the reveal event for Black Ops 4, they have found out from Jason Blundell that the new maps, the Voyage of Despair map as well as the IIII Zombies map, are going to be within a separate menu within Zombies to the Blood of the Dead map. He said they did this to separate the two different storylines. However, he did also say that both of these storylines are going to be continued within the DLC. So we are going to be seeing this new storyline as well as the old storyline both being portrayed within the DLC. Now this suggests that we are going to be seeing a lot more DLC maps than we have ever gotten before for Zombies, as we will be following two storylines at once. Now this new storyline is going to be within a completely separate universe to the old storyline. Now what this means is that the lore and everything like that regarding the new storyline is going to be completely different, because obviously the perk machines, the war weapons and stuff like that, they are all present within the original zombie storyline because Dr. Monty intervened and helped our characters out by intervening with Group 935's inventions. But within this new storyline, it's going to be exploring an ancient order, and this ancient order are actually hell-bent on evil, essentially, on spreading evil. They are clearly the cloaked characters that we see within the Voyage of Despair trailer, for example, and everything's going to be explained now through this magic that is created by this artifact that we see within both the Voyage of Despair and also the IIII Zombies map. Now I'm going to be making a whole storyline video talking about everything we know from the IIII Zombies map as well as the Voyage of Despair map within a future video, so I'm just sort of cutting corners. I'm not really going too in depth within this video, so that is why. But this device has got something to do with alchemy, which was the big teaser for Black Ops 4 Zombies initially. It's all going to be to do with these alchemical processes, and essentially this magic is actually what spawns in the perks as well as the mystery boxes we see within the Voyage of Despair trailer, which is obviously going to be taking place within the Titanic. So the lore explaining why the perks and why the war weapons and stuff like that are here within this new storyline is going to be completely different to the old storyline. Now because of this, we do see either a perk or a pack-a-punch machine within the Voyage of Despair trailer spawn in, as the perks are going to be different to the ones that we had within the original storyline, because they're not going to be drink machines, they're not going to be Coca-Colas, because that wouldn't make sense for the new storyline. However, Jason Blundell has said that everything will be the same, as in there'll be equivalents to, for example, Juggernaut, Quick Revive within the new storyline, but obviously they're not going to be called the same thing, and they're not going to be Coca-Colas anymore. They're going to be reskins, and they're going to have a new backstory and lore as to why the perks are there, similar to what we saw within Infinite Warfare Zombies and World War II Zombies. Now also, the alchemical liquid that they drink allows the characters to sort of be hypnotized, and it allows them to travel through time. So I think within the Black Ops 4 Zombies DLC, we are going to see these characters go through all kinds of crazy time loops. We are going to be traveling through loads of different time eras. We already know we're going to the Titanic, we're going to Rome. We'll most likely be rescuing these artifacts, this artifact that we seem to be trying to get, which we are involved in a heist within the Voyage of Despair map to try and retrieve this artifact, and we are going to be sort of trying to stop this ancient order, essentially. Now this really does open up the possibility for where we may go within the DLC, because any time period is possible. I mean, hell, we could go back to the dinosaur period for all we know. We could be in the Jurassic era for all we know, because we can literally travel to any point in time with this alchemical liquid. Now this artifact appears to be Egyptian, so that's probably the backstory behind it. But anyways, let's get straight into what I want to talk about. So, as I said, this new storyline is going to have a completely completely different explanation to the old storyline as to why everything makes sense, since Dr. Monty is not present within this universe. However, we see within the Voyage of Despair trailer that the safe that holds this artifact is indeed called Harsher and Sons. Now, if we go back to Shadows of Evil, we can see that this exact same company is printed all over Shadows of Evil. So there is our first big connection to Black Ops 4 Zombies and the old storyline. So this new storyline automatically has a connection because the two companies are present within the new storyline and the old storyline. Now also, one of the Shadows of Evil ciphers described these elders. Now, could these elders be actually this ancient order that is going to be within this new storyline? Because we still don't know who the elders are. People think they could be Dr. Monty. We don't really know. So who are the elders? Only time will tell, but it could have something to do with this new order that we see within this new storyline. Now we can see at the base of this device there are indeed two wolves, so this could hint that this could possibly link back to the Wolf King that we have within the other storyline, and that's all to do with the Great War and the Eisendrache and stuff like that. As I said, I think both of the maps are going to have little Easter eggs towards one another, but they're not going to have a direct link until the finale, the DLC finale, where both universes will collide somehow in some sort of epic climax that we're not sure how that will play out at the moment. Now moving forward, we see with our four characters on Voyage of Despair that they have very similar traits to the Shadows of Evil crew. Each one is very, very similar. So I'm going to put all four of our new crew up on screen right now, and I will also put all four of the Shadows of Evil crew, and you can see that they each have their own counterparts. Each one is similar to this new crew. I am sure there is going to be a big link between Shadows of Evil and the new crew that we have, just because Voyage of Despair, for example, seems like a very similar themed map to Shadows of Evil. Now moving further on within the Voyage of Despair trailer, we also see a watch that is set to 115, so there again is a link to the old storyline. 115 doesn't seem to be present within this universe, so once again we have another reference to the old storyline. Now moving forward to the 9 Zombies map, we have this new boss that seems to come out of the zombie, and it's this massive creature. Now if we look at the creature's head, what does it remind you of? It looks very similar to the Nova 6 crawlers that we saw within Kino de Toten. Now obviously they evolved and became the crawlers that we see within Moon, and they also evolved and became the jumping zombies that we see within Die Rise. Now these were actually experiments because Group 935 were trying to experiment and create the Vril essentially, which are indeed the Keepers we see within Shadows of Evil, which was where the Keepers were first introduced, which are actually sort of the Guardians of the Galaxy essentially. They try and keep everything in order. We see very similar similarities between the Nova 6 crawlers and the Keepers. And then if we go over to Origins, we also see the Templar zombies, which were also linked to the Vril and the Keepers once again. They were all sort of linked very heavily. The Nova 6 crawlers were essentially Group 935 trying to replicate the Keepers. Now obviously also the Keepers then became the Apothecans. The Apothecans are a de-evolution or an evolution of the Keepers because they are Keepers that became corrupt by the Dark Aether, and the Shadow Man was one of them. Now if we look at this new boss, we can see that the head is very similar to the Keeper's head as well as the Nova 6 crawlers. So I think this is a big link here. Now if we also look at the Magwar's head, which are Apothecans, we can see that the head is also similar to the Nova 6 crawlers and the Keepers, and that's because they are an evolution of the Keepers. They are related, or at least at one point they were the same thing, but the Keepers obviously became corrupt and then they became the Apothecans. Now we also see this new zombie spewing acid, which seems to be very similar to the spider boss that we see within Zetsubo no Shima that I've already done a whole storyline video on once again, that appears to once again be an Apothecan creature. So I think that it isn't too far out of the reach that this boss could be related in some way to the Keepers and the Apothecans and the Nova 6 crawlers. I think that is a big possibility. Maybe it's related somehow to the Aether or something like that. We're going to have to find out more as we find out the backstory behind this boss, but I think it's going to relate in some way, shape or form. Now to conclude this video, we know from Jason Blundell both of these storylines are going to be portrayed within the DLC, so we're going to be getting a lot more DLC maps than ever before. Now what I think is going to happen is there's only going to be minor references to the two different storylines within each of the maps, like we've seen within the trailers, and once we actually get the maps there'll probably be Easter eggs to do with each of the maps, and I think there'll be minor references. However, I think by the final DLC, the finale, both of the maps will collide and the two storylines will connect. I think they're completely different universes, one with Dr. Monty in, one with a completely new lore, and both of the universes will somehow collide by the finale by the end of the DLC. I am sure of that, although they are almost completely separate separate and distinct, somehow the two storylines will collide by the end of the DLC. I am sure of it. There's no way they won't. I am sure this is going to happen. I remember before Mob of the Dead, I remember when Mob of the Dead came out, everyone thought it was going to something completely separate. Treyarch described it as something completely separate, but guess what? It wasn't, and it actually played a massive part within Black Ops 3 and Black Ops 4 Zombies storyline, especially now we're getting the Blood of the Dead, Mob of the Dead remake. So I think this is going to be a similar case, and I think it will shock us by the finale of the DLC, because Treyarch are like, you know, laughing, sitting there thinking, you know, this has no relevance to the old storyline, and then boom, both storylines will connect. I'm sure that's going to happen, and that's why Treyarch have been leaving these little clues within the trailers. So anyways, thank you for watching the video. Make sure to subscribe if you're not here for latest and greatest Black Ops 4 Zombies news and information. So anyways, thank you for watching, and bye.